So, a pleasant day to each and everyone, especially to our instructor, Mr. Tikong, to our dear student interns, and to the BS Ed Social Studies 2A class. Today, we will tackle Germany's form of government and its official titles of the head of state and that of other government officials. So, the Federal Republic of Germany. Subject: Comparative Economics and Politics. So the official name of the form of government of Germany is the Federal Republic of Germany and is best described as a federal parliamentary representative democratic republic. These terms means that Germany's government is a federation of different states under a non-monarchical government which has different people as the head of state and the head of government. So just like the Philippines, Germany has an executive branch, a legislative branch, and a judicial branch. Germany also has two major legislative bodies, the Bundestag and the Bundesrat, where the Bundestag is the German parliament, and when compared to the United States of America, it is the House of Representatives. The Bundesrat also represents the state governments, and again, when compared to the United States of America, it is the Senate. So the German government has two leaders, the President and the Chancellor, which we will tackle later. So the head of state. The President or the Federal President of Germany. The head of state is the President of Bundestag also. And as head of state, the federal president is for protocol purposes the most important man in Germany. The president of Bundestag or the German parliament or House of Representatives is the chief legislative body on the federal level. She or he is the constitutional organ which represents the Federal Republic of Germany, both at home and abroad. So in his or her actions and public appearances, the federal President makes the state itself, its existence, its legitimacy, its unity visible. This at the same time involves an integrative role also, and to control the function of upholding the law and the Constitution. Speaking of the law, upholding the law and Constitution, here are the traditional functions of the Federal President as head of state. They include representing the Federal Republic of Germany both at home and abroad. So through public appearances at state, social and cultural events, speeches, visits to different länder and communities in Germany, state visits abroad, and as host to foreign dignitaries and state guests. Next is proposing the Federal Chancellor, appointing and dismissing the Federal Chancellor and Federal Ministers, dissolving the Bundestag sentence, certifying, signing and promulgating laws, appointing and dismissing federal judges, federal civil servants, and commissioned and non-commissioned officers of the armed forces, exercising the power to pardon individual offenders, and awarding honors on behalf of the Federation. So the President is elected every 5 years by the Federal Convention by way of secret ballot without any prior debate. So the Federal Convention is consists of 1,200 members, and its only task is to choose the next president. It chooses the next federal president by an absolute majority vote. So for example, if no one has an absolute majority vote on the first and second ballot, then they hold a third ballot and the winner is the person who has the highest number of votes. Next is the head of government. So the Chancellor or Federal Chancellor of Germany is the head of government of the Federal Republic of Germany. It is also the German people's version of a prime minister or premier, which is ultimately responsible for the policy and decisions of the government. The Chancellor also has a prominent position in the government. He or she is as it were, the captain of the ship. So the traditional functions of the federal chancellor as head of government include: determines who will be in the government, since he or she alone has the right to form the cabinet, chooses his ministers, and makes a proposal that is binding for the federal president with regard to their appointment or dismissal, determines the number of ministers and defines their terms of reference, and determines the general guidelines of government policy. So the Chancellor of Germany is elected by the majority of members of the Bundestag, or the German parliament. The election is then held exclusively among the members of the German Bundestag, who vote in a secret ballot without any prior debate. Following his or her election, the successful candidate is appointed by the federal president and sworn in before the Bundestag. He or she is now able to propose his or her federal ministers. So that was the Germany's form of government and official titles of the head of state and the head of government. The other parts of this parts of the Federal Republic of Germany will be discussed by my groupmates. So this is Rex Aldrin Erebon. That would be all. Thank you and God bless.
So, good day everyone. I am Johar Ambrosa and I'm going to continue the discussion about the Federal Republic of Germany. And at this point of time, we're going to focus about the two things, which is the electoral process or the manner of choosing officials. And the second one is the party system of the Federal Republic of Germany. So, without further ado, let us begin. Electoral system in Germany. The German federal election systems regulates the election of the members of the national parliament called the Bundestag. So, the Bundestag is the German federal parliament. It is the only federal representative body that is directly elected by the German people. So, the Bundestag comprises the seats representing each electoral district, with the remainder of seats being allocated to maintain proportionality based on the second vote. So, the common practice is that direct candidates are also placed on the electoral list at higher rankings as a fallback in case they do not win their districts. So, this is how the German Bundestag looks like. Composed of seats and the people. Next is how do the Germans vote? Germans elect their members of parliament with two votes. First, the first vote is for a direct candidate who is required to receive a plurality vote in their electoral district. The second vote is used to elect a party list in each state as established by its respective party caucus. So, the first vote allows the elector to vote for a direct candidate of their constituency who applies for a direct mandate in the Bundestag. Relative majority voting is used in the first vote. So, when we say relative majority voting, it means that the candidate who receives the most vote can get the mandates. So if the vote results in a tie, the lot drawn by the leader of the regional election is decisive. So in this case, the votes for the other candidates are invalid. The primary function of the first vote is to personalize the election. So this is the function or the purpose of the first vote. So as there are 299 constituencies at the moment, the same number of mandates in the Bundestag are distributed to the elected candidates in each district. So, however, the first vote does not determine the power of the parties in the Bundestag. For each direct mandate in a Bundesland, the party always receives one mandate fewer from the second vote. The size and the geographical shape of the electoral constituencies are revised by an electoral committee appointed by Germany's head of state. So, of course, the final decision is made by the German Bundestag and can be found in the attachment to the Federal Electoral Law. The second vote allows the elector to vote for a party whose candidates are put together on the regional electoral list. Based on the proportion of second votes, the 598 mandates are distributed to the parties who have achieved at least 5% of valid second vote. So since the 1987 German Bundestag elections, the distribution of seats was made according to the Harry-Nimier method due to a change in the law passed in the January 2008. The distribution of seats is now made according to the Santilleg-Skippers method. The proportion of seats a party gets in the Bundestag approximately equates the percentage of votes the party gets in the election. So, of course, the proportion of seats must be the same. The proportion of seats in the Bundestag must be the same. The proportion of seats or the percentage of votes the party gets in the election. So, because 50% from the 50% from the constituency and 50% for the party list seats. So the electors' second votes are not accounted. So there are rules or reminders and the process of voting. So in the system of voting. So in the second vote, if the vote is not accounted if those electors give their first votes to a successful and autonomous direct candidate, a candidate who is not nominated by a party. This rule is designed to prevent a double influence on the composition of the Bundestag. So here is the official ballot of here is their official ballot. So the first, the color black, it contains the constituency list of the candidate. It is in the first vote, and the second vote, this is color blue, which contains the list of the parties. Okay. So elections in the constituencies, Section 5 of the Federal Electoral Act, one member of the Bundestag is elected in each of the 299 constituencies in the federal territory. The candidate who gets the most constituency votes is directly elected to the Bundestag. So, as what I have said, this voting of relative majority voting is utilized. So it means that the candidate who receives the most votes who can get the mandate. So the constituency seats won are counted towards the total number of seats won by a party with votes for its state list in order to guarantee the number of MPs in the Bundestag corresponds to the principles of proportional representation. Elections of State Party List, Section 6 of the Federal Electoral Act. The proportion of second votes won by the party list determines the representation in the Bundestag and the number of members elected from the states to the Bundestag. Parties must receive at least 5% of the second votes to enter the Bundestag. So, the parties receive below 5%, so it cannot enter the Bundestag. So, elections of state party list, Section 6 of the Federal Electoral Act. First step, the total number of Bundestag seats must be calculated. In the second step, the seats are allocated according to the proportion of second votes received by the parties who then allocate their seats using their state list. So the number of constituency seats won in the state constituencies is subtracted from the number of seats allocated to the state list. The remaining seats are assigned in order they appear on the list. Candidates who have won a constituency seat and are also on the party list are skipped over when seats are allocated using the party list. So the candidate who have won in the constituency seat are automatically allocated, are having the seats. Only parties may submit state list of candidates. If a party has not been represented by at least 5 members in the Bundestag or a state parliament without interruption since the last elections, the Federal Electoral Committee decides whether it is a party for the election. Complaints about decisions by the Federal Electoral Committee may be submitted to the Federal Constitutional Court within 4 days. So, the complaints of the candidates about the decision of the Federal Electoral Committee would submitted into the Federal Constitutional Court to raise their concerns and find solutions of it. The applicant is to be treated as a party and may therefore submit party list until the court has made a decision and no more than 59 days before the election. So they also have given the span of time to wait until the decision is fixed, until the decision of the court fixed. When to vote? So when to vote? The polls will open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Sunday in 219 electoral districts in the country, and all the votes should be counted by Monday morning. Who can vote? So German citizens above 18 years are eligible to cast their vote, and about 60.4 million people of the 83 million population are eligible to exercise their franchise this year. So it is the same from Philippine system. Citizens age 18 and above can cast their vote. So German passport holders who have lived in the country for at least 3 months can also vote. German citizens living abroad are allowed to vote under certain conditions. So every German citizens have the opportunity to cast their vote under the certain conditions if they are in abroad. Or so exactly, the German citizens all have the opportunity to cast their vote. How does the German election system work? German's basic law stipulates that its members should be elected in general, direct, free, equal, and secret elections. Germany's electoral system is a combination of the first past the post election of constituency candidates' first votes and proportional representation on the basis of votes for the party's land list second votes. So the half of the members of the Bundestag are elected directly from the Germany's 299 constituencies. The other half via party list in Germany's 16 Länder states. So each of these 299 constituencies directly elects a lawmaker by a simple majority, and the 299 seats go to candidates elected on party list. That vote is critical because it determines the percentage of seats each party wins. So this is the 16 Länder of Germany. The German electoral system. So the first past the post, which in the first vote, there are 299 constituency representatives. In the right side, which is the proportional representation, which is in the second vote, it comprised 299 seats for party delegates. So the Bundestag have a 598 seats all in all. So at the center, the official ballot of the German electoral system, their official ballot. The first, the color black, which is the list of the candidates, and the second part is the list of the parties. Who elects the chancellor? German citizens do not directly elect the chancellor, but they elect the federal officials. So the federal officials are the one who pick or select the candidate for chancellor. So typically, the coalition party with the most seats picks the chancellor. Once a coalition is decided upon, the German president nominates to the Bundestag a candidate for chancellor. So the German president who are responsible in choosing or nominating to the Bundestag to present a candidate for chancellor. This candidate needs a majority, of course. This candidate needs majority of all members to be elected, and doesn't have to be a member of parliament. The old chancellor, however, continues in a caretaker capacity, so they have to continue his task or his term until a new government is formed. In a rare case, if two attempts to elect a chancellor with a majority fail, the president is allowed to appoint a candidate who has to win the most votes in a third vote, or the president may dissolve the Bundestag and hold a national election. That has never happened yet. How is the German Bundestag elected? The Bundestag elected the Bundestag is elected every 4 years by German citizens aged 18 or over. Elections use a mixed member proportional representation system which combines first past the post elected seats with a proportional party list to ensure its composition mirrors the national popular vote. So which are the main parties? Out of the 47 parties listed on the ballot sheet, 3 leading parties are the center-right Christian Democrats, the center-left Social Democrats, and the Greens. So the center-right Union Bloc Christian Democratic Union was the biggest group in the outgoing parliament, and it consisted of Merkel's Christian Democratic Union and the Christian Social Union. The center-left Social Democratic Party has been the coalition with the conservatives and is the second largest group. On the other hand, the left-wing party Greens was leading the polls earlier this year, and the party focuses on the social justice and climate change. So who can form government? A government can only be formed by parties that singly or together with others have the majority of members behind them. So this is why elections are often followed by the coalition negotiations between the parties. Okay, I think that is all for my part, and thank you and God bless everyone.
Guten Tag in Germany, which means good day. So ladies and gentlemen, I am Jerome Bidblas from BSS Social Studies 2A. And for this time, I'm going to discuss my assigned topic. It's all about the legislature and the executive branch. So this time, the political system of Germany. So in overview, Germany is a federal parliamentary democracy governed under the Basic Law for the Federal Republic of Germany. Basic Law. So the Constitution of Germany, the Basic Law, consists of 11 chapters which set out the rights of the German people and outline in considerable detail the political and the legal system of Germany. In particular, the President is the head of state and the Federal Chancellor the head of government. So the Basic Law also enshrines the principle of tripartition of powers into the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. So in Germany, a democratic federal parliamentary republic where federal legislative power is vested in the Bundestag. So the Parliament of Germany and the Bundesrat, the representative body of Länder, Germany's regional states. So Bundestag, the Parliament of Germany, and the Bundesrat is the representative body of Länder, Germany's regional states. So the difference between two is the Parliament of Germany and the Bundesrat is the representative body of the Länder. So what is Germany's legislative branch? So the German Parliament is a bicameral legislature that consists of elected Bundestag and appointed Bundesrat, so upper house of the German Parliament. So as a directly elected body, the Bundestag is empowered to first, enact and amend legislation, second, elect the federal chancellor, third one is monitor the performance of the federal government based on the rights and instruments set out in the Basic Law, so including the interpellation and debates on matters of public interest. The fourth one is approve federal budget and scrutinize its implementation by the federal government. The last one is determine the amount of public funding that parties are entitled to receive under the Act of Political Parties and elect the president together with the appointed members from the state legislators at the federal conventions. So that's how the Bundestag to elect the body, to empower too. So other house of the German parliament, the Bundesrat, is composed of appointed members representing the 16 states of Germany at the national level. To counterweight the power of Bundestag, the Bundesrat is granted with a number of legislative and scrutiny powers. So, in Germany, for example, the basic law provides for the Bundesrat to make comments on the draft law before it is submitted to Parliament for scrutiny and vote. So, the Bundesrat may also veto a bill that substantially affects the state of interest. So that is one of the example of how the basic law provides the Bundesrat to make comments. So in Germany, each voter has 2 votes. So let's have first the how to pass the bill. So since bills must be approved by both houses to become legislation, the Constitution allows for convening a mediation committee with 16 members of the Bundestag and an equal number of members of the Bundesrat to resolve the difference between the 2 houses. So, how to elect the Bundestag? An election of the Bundestag is held once every 4 years unless it is dissolved earlier. So, like for example, the last election was on September 22, 2013, in which Christian Democratic Union won 255 seats to become the largest party in Bundestag, and the next election will take place was in 2017. So in Germany, each voter has 2 votes. So a first vote for an individual candidate in one of the constituencies, and a second vote to select party lists drawn up for each of the 16 states by the campaigning parties. And if parties win more constituency seats, that their share seats determined by the party vote. So they can see that the extra seats determined by the party votes. So they can keep the extra seats, which are known as the overhang seats. In case some parties are stipulated under the Federal Electoral Act in 2013, hence the number of seats will be over 598 if there are overhang seats and balance seats. So in the 2013 election, there are 4 overhang seats and 29 balance seats, bringing the total membership of the Bundestag to 631. So the Bundestag consists of 598 regular selected. So a mixed electoral system, one half the seats are elected directly in 299 constituents based on a majority vote. So while the other half are filled through the proportional representation system using the party list, the latter arrangement aims to allocate extra seats to political parties so that the makeup of the Bundestag reflects the support for these parties across the country. So current division of parliamentary group. So first, as at January 10, 2015, the composition of Bundestag by parliamentary group was as follows. First, Christian Democratic Union, Christian Social Alliance, 331 members, and the Social Democratic Party of Germany, 191 members, and the third one is the Left Party, or 64 members, and the Alliance, 90, the Greens, 63 members. So Norbert Lammert of the Christian Democratic Union has been the president of Bundestag since October 2005. So in appointment to the Bundesrat is made up of 69 members appointed by the state governments. In other words, the appointed members concurrently hold office in the state and federal institution, and the number of seats for each state is based on the population size of the state. So ranging from 3 to 6 seats. So there is no definite term of office for members of Bundesrat. The state governments may recall or replace their representative anytime. In composition of Bundesrat, the composition of Bundesrat by state is as follows. So first is 6 members for each of Baden-Württemberg, Bavaria, Lower Saxony, and the North Rhine-Westphalia. So the second is 5 members of Hesse, and the third one is 4 members for each of Berlin, Brandenburg, Rhineland, Palatinate, and Saxony, Saxony-Anhalt, Eskelwedge, and Holstein, and Thuringia, and the last one is 3 members for each of the Bremen, Hamburg, Mecklenburg, Vorpommern, and Saarland. So the presidency of Bundesrat rotates annually among the 16 states, beginning with the minister-president of the populous state. So Boker is the minister-president of Hesse, has been the president of the Bundesrat since November 2014. So the minister is the head of state and the government of the German state. The office roughly corresponds to the governor of a U.S. state. So now we have the executive branch. So let's have the meaning of the executive branch. So in Germany, executive power is vested in the cabinet formed by the federal chancellor and the other ministers. So the president only holds a ceremonial role with limited reserved powers. For example, he or she can dissolve the parliament if the federal chancellor loses a motion of confidence and asks the president to do so. So in Germany, the federal chancellor is the head of government and the equivalent to the prime minister in many other countries. So the president is, being the head of state, and the president is empowered among other things. So first is the president proposed a candidate to Bundestag, lower house of the German parliament, for the office of federal chancellor. Second is the president appoint and dismiss the federal chancellor, other ministers, and federal judges. And the third one, the president is dissolve the Bundestag upon the request from the federal chancellor if the Bundestag are not supportive of the federal chancellor policies through the votes of confidence. And the fourth one, the president promulgate legislation that has been passed by the legislative branch. And the fifth one is represent Germany both at home and abroad, accredit and receive envoys, and conclude treaties with foreign states. And the last one is pardon. The president pardon individual offenders and award honors on behalf of Germany. So the president is indirectly elected for a 5-year term. So renewable once by the Federal Convention, established solely for the presidential election. So the Federal Convention is made up of all members of the Bundestag and the equal members of representative elected by the state legislators, and the president is elected by the secret ballot without any prior debate. So the president is indirectly elected for 5-year term, and unlike here in our country that the president is elected for 6 years. And if none of the candidates receive an absolute majority, more than half of votes, in the first and the second rounds of voting, a third round will be held, and the candidate receiving the most votes in the third round will be elected. So the new candidates can also be the number of representatives which the individual states may send to the Federal Convention, calculated based on the population of state. So the Federal Chancellor is the head of government. According to the basic law, the federal chancellor is empowered among other things too. First, propose a ministerial candidates for appointment by the president to the cabinet. Second, the chair and the cabinet are reconcile the difference among ministers. And the third one is determine the government policies, and the last one is command the armed forces in case the country is under attack. So, to be elected as the federal chancellor, the candidate has to obtain an absolute majority votes in the Bundestag in order to receive the formal appointment from the president. So, the election is often preceded by the extensive negotiation between those parties that plan to govern together, and the leader of the party or the coalition of parties winning the Bundestag election usually becomes the federal chancellor. So that's it for I guess the executive branch of the Federal Republic of Germany, and I hope that you have something learned from me, and thank you for listening. And once again, this is Jerome Dublas from BSS Social Studies 2A. Bye.
Hello, good day everyone. I am Jane Sapiaza, and for today's lesson, we will be tackling about the judiciary and national defense in the Federal Republic of Germany. So, the judiciary of Germany, it is a system of courts that interprets and applies the law in Germany. The German legal system is a civil law, mostly based on a comprehensive compendium of statutes as compared to the common law systems. So when we say statutes, it is the collection of written enactments of a legislative in which it can be used to declare a policy. And civil law, it is founded on the principles laid out by the Basic Law for the Federal Republic of Germany. So in criminal and administrative law, Germany uses an inquisitorial system. So when we say inquisitorial system, it is a legal system in which the court or the judges has the active involvement in investigating the facts of the case. So in Germany, the independence of the judiciary is historically older than democracy. The judicial system is established and governed by Part 9 of the Basic Law for the Federal Republic of Germany. So this law, the Basic Law, serves as the nation's constitution. So German law is primarily codal in nature. So the law adjudicated in court comes from the German codes. So the court system adjudicates public law and private law. So when we say public law, it regulates the relations between the citizen or the person and the state. And the private law, it regulates the relation between two person and companies or companies. So German law, especially private law, is mainly based on early Byzantine law, specifically Justinian's Code, and to a much lesser extent the Napoleonic Code. So Courts Constitution Act is the primary legislation concerning court organization. The court structure is divided mainly into three: ordinary jurisdiction, specialized jurisdiction, and constitution jurisdiction, or constitutional jurisdiction. However, there are five basic types of courts. The ordinary law courts, the administrative law courts, tax law courts, social law courts, and constitutional law courts. In Germany, ordinary courts has the most numerous number of courts, garnering 687 local, 116 regional, 24 appellate, and 1 federal, followed by labor courts, which garners 122 local, 19 appellate, and 1 federal, and a total of 142. Then 69 administrative courts, which consist of 52 local, 16 higher, and 1 federal. And then 20 tax courts, which consist of 19 local and 1 federal. And then there is 86 social courts, 69 local, 16 affiliate, 1 federal. And then constitutional courts has 16 state constitutional courts and 1 federal constitutional court. Now let us focus more on the 3 main structures of the court: the ordinary courts, the specialized courts, and the constitutional courts. Now, first we will tackle the ordinary courts. So ordinary courts deals with criminal and most civil cases. So the trial courts in criminal matters are composed of Amtsgerichte, Landgerichte, and Oberlandesgerichte. So in Amtsgerichte, it composes 2 types, the Strafrichter and the Schöffengericht. So Strafrichter composed of 1 judge. So its jurisdiction, criminal offenses in which the sentence is expected to be less than 2 years. And the second, Schöffengericht, it composed of 1 or 2 judges and 2 lay judges. So its jurisdiction, criminal offenses in which the sentence is expected to be between 2 and 4 years. In Landgericht, it is also composed of 2 case types. First is Grobe Strafkammer, and the second one is Schwurgericht. So first, in Grobe Strafkammer, it is composed of 2 or 3 judges and 2 lay judges. So its jurisdiction, causes in which the sentence is expected to exceed 4 years, cases where the prosecutor decided to be not tried by Amtsgericht, and minor political crimes. And for Schwurgericht, it is composed of 3 judges and 2 lay judges. So its jurisdiction, it specially constituted Strafkammer for felonies. And for the third one of the trial court is the Oberlandesgericht, and its type, the case type is Strafsenat. So Strafsenat comprises 3 or 5 judges. So in its jurisdiction is mostly for serious political crimes. In the appellate courts in criminal matters, it is also composed of 3 types. So the first is Landgericht, or Clean Strafkammer. So it is composed of 1 judge and 2 lay judges. So its jurisdiction, appeal for review of facts and laws from the Amtsgericht. And the second is Oberlandesgericht, or Strafsenat, and it is composed of 3 judges. So its jurisdiction, appeal for error of law from certain decisions of Amtsgericht. And lastly is Bundesgerichtshof, or the Federal Court of Justice. So it is composed of 5 judges, and its jurisdiction is all about the appeal for error of law from the trial decisions of the Landgericht and Oberlandesgericht. Now let us move on to our next topic, which is the specialized courts. So the specialized courts deals with 5 distinct subject areas. So first, the administrative law courts. So in these courts, individuals can have wrongful administrative acts overturned. Then the labor law courts addresses disputes over collective bargaining agreements and working conditions. And next, the social law courts adjudicate cases relating to the system of social insurance. And then the fourth one is finance courts. So it is also called the tax law courts or fiscal courts. So basing on its title, it hears only tax-related cases and exists on 2 levels. And last one is Federal Patent Court. So it hears certain intellectual property cases on patents, utility rights, and trademarks. Now let's move on to the last court structure, which is the constitutional courts. So, constitutional courts in state, each one of the lander has its own state constitutional court. And what we can always remember that the courts in the state are administratively independent and financially autonomous from any other government body. And constitutional courts in federal, so the Federal Constitutional Court is the supreme constitutional court established by the Constitution or the Basic Law of Germany. So the sole task of the court is judicial review. So when we say judicial review, it is a process in which the executive, legislative, and administrative actions and or passing of law are subjected to be reviewed by the judiciary. So the sole task of the constitutional courts or the courts is to supervise the law that is passed by these branches, whether it conforms to the Constitution or whether it does not violate the Constitution, which is the basic law. So the personnel of the judiciary are the following. So professional judges, lay judges, prosecutors, and attorneys. Now we're done with the first topic, which is the judiciary, and now let's move on to the national defense in the Federal Republic of Germany. So Bundeswehr literally means federal defense. So it is the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Germany. So Bundeswehr was divided into two, military and civil part. Military is the armed forces of Streitkräfte, and civil part, it is the military part consisting of the German Army, German Navy, German Air Force, Joint Support Service, Joint Medical Service, and Cyber Information Domain Service. The term Bundeswehr was first proposed by former Wehrmacht general and liberal politician Hasse von Manteuffel. The Iron Cross, Kreuz, is its official emblem. It is a symbol that has a long association with the military of Germany. The Schwarzes Kreuz is derived from the Black Cross insignia of the medieval Teutonic Knights. Since 1813, the symbol has been used to denote a military declaration for all ranks. So, its official ethos was based on three major themes. First, the aims of the military reformers at the beginning of the 19th century, such as Scharnhorst, Gneisenau, and Clausewitz. And the second one is the conduct displayed by members of the military resistance against Adolf Hitler, especially the attempt of Klaus von Stauffenberg and Henning von Treschow to assassinate him. And third, its own tradition since 1955. So what is the traditions of this Bundeswehr? So the modern Bundeswehr traditions are the Grober Zapfenstich and Gelobnis. So Grober Zapfenstich, it is a form of military tattoo. So military tattoo is a performance of music or display of armed forces in general. So as you can see, there is a trumpeters and timpani, corps of drums, up to two escort companies of the Bundeswehr's Watch Battalion, and there is also a torch bearers. And for the Gelobnis, it is a solemn oath made by recruits during basic training and serving professional soldiers. So the command organization of Bundeswehr. So in this, let us tackle the history of organization, senior leadership, combat forces, operational command, and mission. So history of organization. In October 2000, the Joint Support Service, the Streitkräfte basis, was established to concentrate logistics and other supporting functions such as military police, supply and communications under one command. So medical support was reorganized with the establishment of the Joint Medical Service. In 2016, the Bundeswehr created its youngest branch, the Cyber and Information Space Command. So the Joint Medical Service and the Cyber and Information Space Command, we can say that they are related. Now, let us. So, senior leadership. The Minister of Defense or the Chancellor is supported by the Chief of Defense or General Inspector, and the service chiefs and their respective staffs in his or her function as Commander-in-Chief. The Chart and the service chiefs from the Military Command Council, with functions similar to those of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in the United States. Combat Forces. The combat forces of the Army are organized into 3 combat divisions and participate in multinational command structures at the corps level. The Air Force maintains 3 divisions and the Navy is structured into 2 flotillas. The Joint Support Service and the Joint Medical Service are both organized in 4 regional commands of identical structure. All of these services also have general commands for training, procurement, and general issues. Operational Command. So the Armed Forces Operational Command is the only joint military command of the Bundeswehr. So it controls all abroad running missions. The command is located near Potsdam and is headed by a general lieutenant or the three-star general. Mission. The rule of Bundeswehr is described in the Constitution of Germany as absolutely defensive only. After a ruling of the Federal Constitutional Court in 1994, the term defense has been defined to not only include protection of the borders of Germany, but also crisis reaction and conflict prevention, or more broadly as guarding the security of Germany anywhere in the world. So the motto of Bundeswehr is Wir dienen Deutschland, or meaning we serve Germany. So the appearance of the Bundeswehr or the German army. So the service uniform is theoretically the standard type of Bundeswehr uniform for general duty and off-post activity, but is most associated with ceremonial occasions. The Army's service uniform consists of a light gray, single-breasted coat and darker gray trousers, worn with a light blue shirt, black tie, and black shoes. The peaked visored cap has been replaced by the beret as the most common form of headgear. Dress uniforms featuring dinner jackets or double-breasted coats are worn by officers for various social occasions. The naval forces wear the traditional navy blue, double-breasted coat and trousers. Enlisted personnel wear either a white shirt or a navy blue shirt with a traditional navy color. And for the Air Force, service uniform consists of a blue jacket and trousers with a light blue shirt, dark blue tie, and black shoes. Recruitment of Bundeswehr. So the Bundeswehr offers numerous career paths. So there are only 3 listed here. So voluntary military service. So voluntary military service, it is an employment relationship for soldiers in a career of the lower rank Bundeswehr personnel. So the this service only lasts at least 7 and at most 23 months. Its legal status is similar to that of conscripts. So the second of the list among the Bundeswehr career paths is the temporary soldier. So it is a soldier who voluntarily agrees to perform military service for a limited time. So the regular commitment period is a minimum of 2 and a maximum of 25 years. but may not extend beyond the age of 62. So, the lastly is the career in the reserve. So, there are multiple career paths in the reserve of the armed forces for officers, NCOs, and enlisted personnel, as well as for civilians who have no prior military training. So, here in the screen are the awards of the Bundeswehr. So, it is their accomplishments. First, the Badge of Honor of the Bundeswehr, Combat Action Medal of the Bundeswehr, German Armed Forces Badge of Marksmanship, German Armed Forces Badge for Military Proficiency, German Armed Forces Service Medal, German Flag Service Medal as of 2002, German Flag Service Medal of 2013, and German Parachute Test Badge. So these are the accomplishments made by the Bundeswehr, or the Armed Forces of Germany. So that ends our topic for today, which is all about judiciary branch and the national defense of the country Germany.
Good day to everyone. I am Makibmun M. Kiber from Group 3, and I will be discussing the law enforcement and foreign affairs of Germany. So let's begin. The law enforcement of Germany. The German states are responsible for managing the bulk of Germany's police forces. Each state has its own police force known as the state police. Each state promulgates a law which lays down the organization and duties of its police. So although the state police forces are regulated by 16 different legislatures and are in fact different police forces, there has been an increasing tendency towards standardization of police activities nationwide. The Federal Police is the national and principal federal law enforcement agency of the German federal government, being subordinate to the Federal Ministry of the Interior, Building and Community. So, although the internal organization differs somewhat, all state police are divided into the first one is the protective police, which is a uniformed service carrying out routine law and order duties. The second is the criminal police office, who carry out criminal investigations. And the third is the administrative police. Formerly had duties that included the registration of residents and the issuance of passports, identity cards, and various permits. So these functions have been transferred to civil state government departments in all states. Although the uniforms and vehicle color schemes of the state police forces are different, but somewhat similar all over Germany, the state police forces are structured differently in each state as well. So that would be all for the law enforcement of Germany. So let's proceed to the foreign affairs. The Federal Foreign Office, as you can see, the logo on the side, is the Foreign Ministry of the Federal Republic of Germany, a federal agency responsible for both the country's foreign policy and its relationship with the European Union. It is a cabinet-level ministry. So the federal office cultivates international relations of the Federal Republic of Germany in the sectors of politics, economics, and culture. So the three cabinet-level ministries responsible for guiding Germany's foreign policy are the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, and the Federal Foreign Office. So, commitment to peace and security. So, German foreign policy is committed to peace and security around the world. Germany primarily defines its peace and security policy in multilateral terms, that is, within the framework of the international institutions and structures such as the EU, NATO, the United Nations, the OSCE, the G7, and the G20. So Germany's work in the fields of crisis prevention, stabilization, post-conflict peace building, and humanitarian aid is also part of its peace and security policy. Germany is one of the largest donors of humanitarian aid worldwide
and a pioneer in civil crisis prevention, mediation, and stabilization. So democracy, the rule of law, and human rights. So German foreign policy promotes the strengthening of democracy, the rule of law, human rights worldwide. Germany does not only support these principles out of conviction, but also because this is in its foreign policy interests. Peace, security, stability, and sustainable development can only prevail in the long term where democratic and rule of law principles apply and human rights are respected. So, confidently promoting democracy, the rule of law and human rights is thus an important component of Germany's peace and security policy. So let's proceed. Commitment to a multilateral international order. So German foreign policy aims to ensure that globalization is fair and sustainable. Global justice is a key prerequisite for international peace and security. German foreign policy therefore also addresses topics such as climate protection, displacement, and migration. So Germany promotes binding rules and effective multilateral institutions that facilitates orderly and close cooperation in an increasingly interconnected world. So let's proceed. The three pillars of foreign policy of Germany. The central pillar of Germany foreign policy is flanked by other two pillars. As a trading nation, Germany has a particular interest in an effective external economic policy that helps companies to tap into international markets and to improve the conditions for doing business. So cultural relations and education policy forms the third pillar of German foreign policy. Its instruments include academic exchange, international German schools, and the promotion of German as a foreign language. So by fostering intercultural dialogue, this policy creates a solid foundation for international relations and global trust in Germany, a particularly important function for a country that has such international ties. So that would be all for my topic. I am Makimon M. Kiber. Thank you, God bless, and let's proceed to the next reporter.
Hello everyone, I am Christine Ampo, and at this moment I will be discussing the economic system or affairs in the Federal Republic of Germany. The economy of Germany is the biggest economy in Europe and the fourth largest economy in the world by GDP. The fifth largest economy in the world in PPP terms and Europe's largest. It is a leading exporter of machinery, vehicles, chemicals, and household equipment and benefits from a highly skilled labor force. The economy of Germany is highly developed social market economy and it is one of the largest exporters globally. Okay, so the economic system. Germany has a mixed economic system. And after reunification in 1990, East Germany had to move away from a command economic system and slowly towards a mixed system. Germany has a mixed economic system which includes a variety of private freedom combined with centralized economic planning and government regulation. And Germany is a member of the European Union. And it allows a free market economy in consumer goods and business services. But the government imposes regulations even in those areas to protect its citizens. And Germany has a command economy in defense since everyone receives the benefit, while those with higher incomes pay more in taxes. And the government provides healthcare insurance and education, and that means you pay into the system according to your income and receive benefits according to your need. Okay, next is what to produce. Germany is primarily an export-based economy and is focusing on the manufacturing and commodities. How to produce? Germany business are largely privately owned and independent, and increasing involvement of government in financial sectors. But there is still an issue with updating the Eastern German economy to complete and operate on par with Eastern. So for whom to produce? Germany survives largely based on their exports because exports are the primary focus, which are determined by global markets. And Western Germany still transfers billions of dollars to Eastern Germany to help modernize and update factories and production lines. And next is the natural resources. So, what's available? The key natural resources of Germany include timber, natural gas, coal, lignite, uranium, iron ore, arable land, construction materials, potash, nickel, salt, and copper. So, globally, the country is a leading producer of lignite, the second largest producer of refined selenium, the third largest producer of kaolin, the fourth largest producer of sulfur, the fifth largest producer of potash, the sixth largest producer of refined copper, and the seventh largest producer of crude steel. Germany plays a vital role in the metal manufacturing and processing sector. It is one of the largest sectors in the country, covering the steel and iron, non-ferrous metal, and foundry industries. About 43 million tons of raw steel is produced annually in Germany, making the country the largest steel producer, consumer, importer, and exporter in Europe. And the metal industry in Germany produces countless intermediate and finished metal products ranging from basic processing of raw materials. Okay, so next is the land use. There is 33.25% of the land is arable or that is capable of being farmed, and Germany also has a major agricultural products such as potatoes, wheat, barley, sugar beets, fruit, cabbages, cattle, pigs, and poultry. Next is the industries. So, what's being produced in the factories? Germany produced iron, steel, coal, cement, chemicals, machinery, vehicles, machine tools, electronics, food and beverage, shipbuilding, and textiles. So, the Germany's automakers, auto suppliers, machinery companies, and machine tool builders have long been considered the world's leaders in manufacturing, in large part because of their ability to unlock the potential of software, sensors, networks, and electronic devices on their assembly lines. Next is the literacy rate. So there is 99% of people over the age of 15 can read and write, and the students in Germany are required to stay in school for 16 years. So education in Germany is very important. It is one of the first, if not the very first, countries in the world to provide compulsory free education to its children beginning in the 18th century by command of the King Prussia. And next is the unemployment rate. So what percentage of people do not have jobs? It is 5.4%. So for 2022, the annual average of unemployment rate was 5.4%. And what percentage of people live in poverty? So it is 15.5%. Germany is considered a wealthy country, but people still suffer from poverty. In Germany, people who have far less than 60% of the average net household wealth every month are considered to be severely poor. And next is the economic problem. So the first economic problem is modernizing the former East German economy. So, modernizing the former East German economy is annual transfer from west to east of $80 billion. So, the former East Germany's decade economy continues to be a burden on the country. So, the next is unemployment. So, unemployment is persistently higher in the former East Germany than in the former West. People in the former East Germany earn less than their counterparts in the former West. Next is overdepletion of natural resources. So, Germany has used more resources in the first third of 2022 than are sustainably available to it if for an entire year. The country has used as much from nature in just over 4 months as can be regenerated in the space of a year. And the fourth one is pollution. So, like many industrialized nations, Germany has a significant air pollution problem, but unlike other Western countries, it has worsened in recent years. So, in addition to air pollution, decades of open cast mining in East Germany has resulted in significant water pollution in some rivers. During mining days, the areas around the mine were drained of water, but now that the mines are no longer in operation, water levels have risen and caused a brown sludge to start filling up the Spree River, killing wildlife in the popular tourist attraction and UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. And the last one is improving public services. So, in Germany, improving public services forces the country to raise their taxes. And here is the references, and that would be all in my part. Thank you for listening, and God bless.